G'day everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to the second episode on my 1993 GQ Patrol, nicknamed Rexy. If you didn't see the last episode, go back and check it out. Effectively, I swapped my older Patrol for this one, and it come with a few issues, hence the engine's all blown apart. Yeah, like I said, if you haven't seen the last episode, go back, check it out. This will make a lot more sense. Today is effectively, or this episode, sorry, is effectively rebuilding this engine. I've got a couple of parts on the way. I've got some parts already, so as you can see, got piston rings, got a full gasket set, like full top to bottom gasket set. And we're gonna get this thing back together. Before I go ahead and do all that, do me a massive favor, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you can see when updates come up, not only on this but everything else on the channel as well. And also, if you're watching this and you're wondering why there's no boat videos on this channel anymore, there is a second channel that's been up for a little while called Harper's Boat Shed, and that has everything to do with the boat on it. If you're watching this and wondering what the hell I'm talking about as far as boats go, quite some time ago I acquired a 34-foot timber cruiser that I've been slowly doing up and putting it back into a nice seaworthy condition, and I essentially made a second channel for that. If that's something you're into, go over to Harper's Boat Shed, check it out. Yeah, plenty of videos on there, and yeah, plenty of videos on this channel too. Anyway, let's get to work on getting all this back into a position where it might actually run again. Alrighty, so for a quick recap, essentially this engine was sitting in the engine bay, not bolted to anything, and it had had a head gasket done. Effectively, I wasn't sort of happy with the way the rest of the engine looked, so we started to pull it down, and this is sort of where we are now. What we come across was the cylinder head was incredibly warped, to the tune of about 40 thou, which is a lot. Now I found that out because I tried to slide the camshaft back in it when it was off the block, and it wouldn't go in. Camshaft on these runs down a tunnel on the RB30s, and obviously if the head's warped, the tunnel's warped, and things don't line up. So we effectively went and stripped everything down. The bottom end was very unloved, is probably a good way to put it. Mechanically fine, there's nothing overly wrong with it. I'll reuse all the bearings. This is a budget build. I am going to put piston rings in it. You know, I sprung the $85 for a set of piston rings, and then obviously full gasket kept, but we're not doing bearings because they all are fine and they check out to clearance. We're not doing pistons, there's nothing wrong with them. The crank is fine, rods are fine. You know, for everything I'm doing, the standard bottom end componentry is completely fine. We're going to run a standard style graphite head gasket and standard head bolts. There's no, for what I'm doing, I don't need MLS, and I certainly don't need ARP studs. I would sort of like a set, but to be honest, as far as the budget is concerned, it's not going to happen. They're sort of too expensive. Yeah, the biggest issue we have come across, as I said, is the head's warped. Now, in the last episode, I did go through how I sort of straightened the head or made it less bent. And what that effectively did is meant that with the camshaft installed, I can now spin it. Now, there is still a little bit of drag on that camshaft, a little bit more than I would like. And it is still bent. So, this episode, straight up basically, we need to ascertain if that head is going to be remotely usable. And in order to do that, I'm going to clean this head right up, get all these gasket surfaces completely basically prepped and ready to accept a gasket, so there's nothing on it. And we're going to do the same with the block. Then what we're going to do is bolt the head to the block without a gasket. I'm not going to torque it down, I'm just going to make sure it's bolted down evenly and sort of firm so that the bow is out of the head. At that point, we're going to see if the cam spins, because if I pull the head flat and the cam doesn't spin, then there's something majorly warped, twisted, not right, and it's a paperweight. It'll go in the bin. I do have a lead on another head, but it gets big quick when I go that route. So anyway, we may or may not find out about that later in the episode because it hasn't happened yet. So head's sort of prepped, sort of went through with a chisel and scraped it all, and then something I like to do, especially just for this stage, is actually go over it with a oil stone. Now that's a fairly good condition, fairly new oil stone. With an alloy head, only ever use the fine side, don't use the coarse side. Rips it too much. Having said that, probably wouldn't matter on this head. I'm not holding a lot of confidence anyway. And I did the same thing with the block. You can sort of see there's light patches here, dark patches still in the middle. I haven't put a straight edge on the block, and it's worrying me because there seems to be, oh come on straight edge, seems to be a lot of parts where it didn't touch. Now, oh no, okay, so we're all right. Yeah, so the block's hollow. So if it'll pick it, which it probably won't, there is actually a small amount of light under there. We go diagonal. I don't know if the camera will pick it, but there is a small bit of light under there, which means this cylinder head may not bolt down, and I'm bloody glad I'm not using an MLS gasket, because there's no way an MLS would take up those irregularities. Alright, we're going to sit that on, see what it does. Just alright, so you can hear that. That's the head rocking. Hear the dunk dunk? There is nothing flat or true about this cylinder head or engine block, for the record. Right, here we are anyway, why not? We're here. Like I said, I'm not going to torque these, I'm just going to sort of run them in, and I'll pull them down by hand until everything's pulled down, I guess. For the record, the camshaft spins right now. Go and get the rest of my head bolts. So the big issue with doing what I'm doing here, A, it's not really the right thing to do, but B, if it does pull straight and the camshaft spins, and you know, yeah, okay, the gasket will take up some irregularities, that's fine. What's not fine is that it's basically stress loading the cylinder head. It's putting a lot of extra stresses through everything because it's bent into position as opposed to just clamped into position. So that's sort of where things get a little bit ordinary. If this was any form of, you know, race engine, there is absolute, or performance engine, let's say, there is absolutely no way I would be doing this. It would be new or, you know, better condition cylinder head. The block would be decked, and it would, or the block would be decked, the cylinder head would be skimmed, and it would be an MLS head gasket with ARP head studs. But here we are. Plus it's my car. You know, if this was someone else's car that I was building an engine for, that'd be a whole different story. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. It's one of those old things. It's like, you know, mechanics' cars are always the least serviced because they just run them and don't care about them. Or anyway, who knows? Yeah. Cam still spins. Actually, I probably will put a torque on these. Not a lot, but just a bit. Okay, so we'll just work our way from the center out. Don't really need to do proper sequence, but for this instance anyway, most of the time you'll find that a cylinder head torquing sequence works from the center bolt holes in a spiral pattern out. Not always, definitely check it for whatever engine you're doing. 9 times out of 10, that's how it goes. I haven't even looked at a manual for this engine yet, so yeah. Okay, cam still spins. Let's go again. Alright, cam still spins. Does look pulled down. Alright, I am going to look up the torque spec for this and I will torque them down to full torque. Cam spins and it installs what feels like it'll install fine. They're all done up to 79 Newton meters, which is the first, well, technically second stage, but you do them all up to 79. 29, 79, back them all off, and then you go 29 again, and then 88 I think it was. That's to seat the gasket. We don't have one of them, so I just went to 79 and we'll see if it works. Okay, good. Camshaft spins. That's pretty good. There is a little bit of drag on it, but it's free in the journals. So I'm thinking we might just get away with that. Being pulled down that tight, it's flat. The head won't be wiggly or anything anymore. I'm thinking we may actually just jag it. Okay, that's good. Now it's all got to come off again, and basically we spend the next 3 to 6 hours washing parts. Before we go too much further, I'm going to go through and I'm going to run what's left of a Christmas tree hone through all the bores. I've got some cutting fluid here, and this is not going to be a machined finish, but it is going to be better than what it is. Maybe it's going to be better. There's not a lot of abrasives left on that Christmas tree. Go a bit more. It has broken the surface and it's left a bit of a hone mark in it, so we'll go a bit more. It's the same thing. It's probably going to take me a good hour or so to get all these bores done. So yeah, bring you back when it's done, and then we're going to hit the top with a flat block. Which you'll see, and then we're going to roll it outside and everything gets washed. Alright, so after an hour and a half with our flat block here, so this is actually a magnetic chuck that we come through and clamp some plates on and put paper on. It's perfectly flat and it's about 15 kilos, so it's good solid, actually it's probably more than that, good solid junk steel and machine flat. This is the head. Now, we know it's not perfect, we know that for a fact, we've proven it's not perfect, but it's a darn sight better than it was. I would be more than happy to say that the gasket's going to bite everywhere. This little area here is my only area of concern. and there's nothing I can do about it. But well, I could keep going, but trouble is, like, so that was 240 grit paper, and it is very possible to actually grind more of a bow into it if you're not careful. So that's where we're going to leave the head. We'll run it. Like, you know, this is the thing, it's my car. If it blows a head gasket, then I know for an absolute certainty it's going to be the head that's caused it, and then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I did do a similar sort of scenario with the block, and it's not too bad. It's a little bit hollow in here. You can see the paper has sort of touched it. Again, you know, like the ends, I would have loved the entire block to come up like this. Perfect world, or, you know, high performance build, this block would get decked. No two ways about it. We're budget building, which means we're doing everything by hand instead of machine, and reusing what we can. I did actually come through and do the bores like you saw, and they're all not terrible. I mean, you'll see some of them have still got a little bit of watermark in them. It's fine. The rings will bite into the new crosshatch, and it'll have better compression than it's had for the last however many years. So at this point, everything gets stripped down. The rings comes off pistons, they get sort of buffed and cleaned. I'm going to pull the valves out of the head and give them a buff and a relap, because they're pretty ordinary down in the porch. You can see they're a bit gummed up, and I've also got new valve stem seals, so the springs have got to come off anyway. So that's the next sort of array of steps. And we're just going to get it done. Alrighty, we have been smashing. I've invested. It's absconded? No, not absconded.
Yeah,
stolen Dad for the weekend.
Supposed to be doing gyro work.
Yeah, well, we're not. We're doing RB work.
Yeah.
We have been smashing it today. And it's, I don't know, 2 o'clock, something like that. Anyway, pistons, no rings on them. They're all clean, prepped, they're ready for rings. Everything's all good to go. Now, I have the block's been cleaned, prepped, crank's been polished. That's just done on the lathe with a nice long belt, like polish belt. Clearance is checked. So I like measuring where I can, but to be honest, a good visual indication for me is plastic gauge. So I will get the actual gauger, the majigger. Now, plastic gauge, if you don't know, is a preformed little piece of wax that you put on the surface, and it looks. Sorry, I know this is shaking the camera around a bit. Yeah, you grab that. Anyway, it's a thin piece of calibrated, preformed wax. And it looks like... So it looks like that, very thin bit. That little sliver. And you put it longitudinally on the bearing journal, and then you put it in. Well, you do it on a big end as well. Yeah, I'll do it on a big end as well. You put it in. You put your cap, or in this case the girdle, on, you torque it down, and it squishes it a predetermined amount based on the tolerance, how much room's left. Pass me that. Yeah, like that. So that, if it'll focus, come on. Come on. There it is. That is how you sit it to start with, and then after you remove the cap, that's how it looks. And then you come along with this gauge, and you match up the width of the squish. So we're looking at 1.5-ish. This is thou. So yeah, 1.5 thou. Some of these, the back one is actually quite, which one was it? That one there. So if we put it on that, we get in the light, try and find it. There it is. So it's 1 to 1.5, which is nice and tight. So I am not worried about running this engine or these bearings whatsoever. They don't show signs of delamination. Like we did show when we pulled it apart, there was a slight amount of scoring on one of them, and I polished the crank, and there'll be no more scoring on that bearing. Yeah, you got to get it all off. It does wipe off. It's just wax, but you do have to get it off. Otherwise, it'll sort of gall up in there. It just scratches off. It's nothing wild. As you can see, the crank looks schmick. All the journals come up really good with just a very light polish, and yeah. I'm about to lay some assembly lube on it and start getting the bottom end together.
800 watts.
Yeah, okay, right. Anyway, assembly lube, main girdle, torque it down, flip it up the other way, and then we're going to start working on piston ring gaps which they're finished rings, so they should be fine. We'll check a couple, and if they're good, pistons on rings, pistons in bore, bolt it down, turn the key.
I know, Tim's a little bit busy doing what he's doing. I'll show you that in just a second. However, all the pistons are in, bottom ends together, all went together really well. Big end clearances were about 1.5 thou, which is superior for an old motor with the bearings going back in. Water pumps on, timing cases on. Give you a little bit of look underneath at the pistons, I suppose. I can't see what I'm filming, but there you go. Right, what the lad's doing?
The lad.
The lad.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're a lad. He's putting the valves back in, putting the springs back on the valves. We've lapped all the valves, you know, seats are okay.
There's still some on. I know all the valves are sitting in there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, show you the valve.
No, I can't show you the valves. But
Well, if I can show you a valve. Oh, it doesn't come out past the valve guide.
oh well, it'll pop out.
There's a valve.
Okay, let's see if I can get a look on the seat on, whoop, that one. There you go. You can see why I don't do the video. Alright, it's got a nice clean mark all the way around it. It's got contact patch. We lapped them, you know. It is what it is. Budget build.
Got new valve stems.
It's all going to work. New valve stem seals, yes.
Got new valve stem seals.
Yep. Old valves.
Well,
Old
so
springs.
Old everything.
Old springs, everything, yeah.
Old everything. Old car.
Mate, I'm tipping this thing's going to fire, run on 6 and run like a gem. Well, it won't be mechanical if it's a problem, but...
Run like a gem till it blows a head gasket because it's got a raw 10.
we said we'd never mention that again.
Next time.
But you know what? Followers of the channel, you will find...
Followers of the channel.
Followers of the channel will know that there is a ZD30 ported supercharger that may or may not just find its way onto this.
Followers of the channel.
Followers of the channel.
Christ, you're going to sit down and read.
It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, isn't it? Followers of the channel.
It's not. It's nothing like
I'm sure this will not make it past editing.
It's
Anyway,
highly
I'll talk to you later.
highly
Bye.
likely to not make it past it. Alrighty, so I had to head off a little bit earlier than expected yesterday, but Dad was a bloody champion and he got all the exhaust side springs put on for me. I had to go before I finished the intake side, but yeah, so he did all the exhaust side, and then all the rockers were cleaned, the lifter guides, and these are hydraulic lifters, so he got to clean the lifter banks and all the guides and everything. So we are ready to put on. Oh, hang on a second. Alright, so we are ready to put the cylinder head on. Now I've got to put the dowels in, prep the surface, as in just get all the oil and everything off it, and we're going to copper coat the head gasket. And then it's going on and going to get torqued down. It'll be what it'll be. We're going to run it. Probably time for a bit of an update. I know this episode's sort of not as in depth as the last one, but I am just trying to get this sucker done and in the car. I'm out of time, basically. Anyway, that's the excuse I'm running with. We are at the point now where I'm going to sling it with a forklift. Where I've still got to clean the clutch up, so we'll clean up the pressure plate and flywheel, bolt that sucker on and stab it in the engine bay. I mean, yeah, so as you can see, cylinder head's on, sump's on, all the rocker gear's in, timing's done, balance is on. It's just, yeah, it's what's referred to as a full long block now. I've got the distributor case in there just to block the hole up so nothing goes down in there. And like I said, pull it off, clean the clutch up, install the clutch and get it in the car. Then the fun starts. Then we start trying to figure out what does and doesn't work as far as the car is concerned. So, get her done. Alrighty, well, big updates. There is an engine in the engine bay that has the potential to run. I don't know how long it hasn't sort of had an engine. I actually got in contact with I think 2 or 3 owners ago. Anyway, the guy that originally did all the work to the car, put all the direct gas injection system on, put the aftermarket ECU on. He had a naturally aspirated 3 litre, but by all accounts it was an absolute ball terror. He was the one that essentially built the whole car. But that's going to do me for today. It's late, it's hot, I'm ready for a beer. Yeah, we are fully, apart from the actual nuts on the engine mounts, because I got to find them because they're not in amongst the stuff. Apart from the nuts on the engine mounts, we're bolted in. So it's all bolted to the gearbox. Starter motor's in, headers are sitting on, but they're there. And yeah, we'll keep working. Major things left to do, obviously, are intake manifold. I need to get some studs, or probably just bolts, really, to be honest. They've got pretty good access on these engines, so I'll just bolt it in. And I need to start pulling out some of the gas hardware. So the cooler lines up the back there, they're actually for heating of the gas converter, so the gas converter doesn't freeze. Don't need any of them. There's a pump, and the converter is actually inside of that guard that I saw, so that guard's going to come off, and then I'm going to pull the gas converter out and the water pump and all associated stuff. I want to rid this engine bay of all the direct injection gas. That way I can start to build it back up for just pure fuel injection, and then we'll work through it from there. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We'll just keep working. But right now, beer o'clock. Alrighty, big update time. I keep saying that, but it's not running yet. It just is update time. So extractors are on, manifolds on. Most of the gas equipment is out of the engine bay. You can see it's a lot tidier over this side. The original Patrol air cleaner was just cracked and broken and stuffed, so that was actually one that was on Dad's Patrol, but when we changed the turbo setup, that no longer fits, so it'll end up in here. What else have we done? I guess that's about it. Oh no, sorry, not about it. So radiator's in. This is a big triple core. Is it a triple or 4 core? It's a decent one. This was actually in my old GU that I had back in the day, and it's been modified, if you'll believe. If we can see it down that side, so right down there, which you can't see because my hand's in the way, there's a weld line. This radiator's been modified to actually be a triple pass.
Another one through here. You just see that.
Oh, okay. Oh, either way, yeah. So it's in there. So it's got block off plates. So the coolant actually comes in here, in the top, and it flows across the top third, and then drops down, hits this block off plate down here, and then goes back again, and then hits another block off plate down here, and goes back again. It's actually a triple pass radiator. It is now anyway. So it should be more than enough to keep this thing cool. Top radiator hose is identical. I am still mucking around with the lower radiator hose, but I've got it sorted. I've just got to get a couple of joiners and make it work. But I think, clutch works. So I bled the clutch up. It feels not too bad, which is a bonus. But I think what we're going to do is leave it there for, holy son of a biscuit. Yeah, that was hot. Stop leaning on it. I think we're going to leave it there. I mean, we've gone from basically a crankshaft in an engine block on its way out to crankshaft out, everything clean, prepped, measured, washed, and then a fully complete engine sitting in an engine bay about 80% of the way to turn the key. Now, obviously it's not happening in this episode because this is about to end. Next episode it'll be running. I can say that with a fairly certain or a fair amount of conviction, because I actually got in contact with the bloke who did all the original work to the car, thanks to a bit of Facebook stalking and some paperwork that was in the truck. Got his name, sent him a message on Facebook. He is more than happy to come and help. He's still got all the old startup files and everything for the Wolf computer that's in it, and he was the one that originally did all the wiring on the car. So that saves me days and days worth of work of tracing and whatever. He also let me know that the distributors that I have are not right. So I've tracked down a distributor for the car. It has to be from a VL RB30. So, and I tell you what, aren't they precious to them these days, if you can get them. Anyway, having him come and help is just, it's a godsend, to be honest. It means that this engine is going to run next episode, or there'll be, some mechanical catastrophic reason why it can't, but let's not dwell on that. So anyway, yeah, that's where we are. So yeah, if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe, and that way you'll get to see when the next one comes out. Make sure your notifications are on, and yeah, stay safe. We'll catch you on the next one when this thing should make noise.